Hey guys, it's Miranda. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about seed starting. So every gardener is going to have their own method of seed starting. My suggestion to you is find something that works for you and stick with it. You do not have to do this method because I do it. You don't need to do someone else's method because they do it. Whatever gets you to put a seed in the ground, that's what you should do. So if that's direct sowing outside, if that's starting seed inside, if that's buying a plant that's already done and popping it in the ground. You can go to Lowe's and Home Depot right now and pretty much find a start of every kind of plant that you can imagine. So if you're only doing one or two and you don't want to save the seeds for next year, it might be easier for you to stop at the store and grab one, put it in your backyard, and that's totally fine. Today I want to talk about what I use to grow my seeds, and I have a small backyard garden, so I really don't need big sections. I grow all of my plants in here. You can see all of them right now. The only thing that has gone out are my lettuces, my kale, my broccoli and cauliflower, and then a couple of my herbs. And so honestly, that's not that much more space than what I have in here now. I got this tray, it's just a plastic tray at a local nursery for about $2. And then I personally like to grow my seeds in these Jiffy recharge refills. And so these are 25 cents a piece if you buy them individually at the nursery that I was visiting, or you can get 25 of them, a 25 pack for like $6. Or I went on Amazon, I bought about a 100 pack for less than 20 bucks. So this is what I use. I find them to be simple and easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the whole process because I'm putting these cherry tomatoes in the ground. It's a little late to be putting tomatoes down for seed if you're starting them early, but it really doesn't matter. My harvest will just come a little bit later, and that's really the only difference it makes starting a month ago or starting now. Okay, so I already got some hot water, so I'm just going to drop these in here and talk to you guys a little bit more while those fill up. Okay, so one thing that I hear complaints about with this method of starting seeds is that they're hard to mark. So what I do is I just take a trusty old toothpick and some tape. And I just wrap it around to make a little flag. So I need to make one for these tomatoes. So I just wrap it right around there, and then I just write what it is on here. So put cherry tomato. Okay, my pen's kind of giving out on me, but so I just write cherry tomato on there, and then I will just stick that right inside of here before I do my seeds, and it'll be good to go. It'll look something like that once I'm done. So I just put it kind of on the outside so it doesn't disturb the seeds. So what I love about these is they're very simple, they're very easy. They're basically dehydrated soil, so you just toss them in some water, they grow, they have all the fertilizer, all the soil that you need. You don't have to feed them or do anything with them, nothing crazy. You literally just grow them and put your seeds in them. So that's why I love them. I also love that they have these little individual wrapped, they're basically little mesh bags with soil in them. What I love about that is I can literally pick it up, move it around. I don't have to pop anything out of plastic to put it in the ground. You can literally put this whole thing right in the ground and then put some dirt around it. You can rip the mesh off if you choose. I've read people think that that's better because the roots can grow through it better, or like not have anything to grow through. Honestly, the mesh is so small that my plants last year blew right through it. I had a huge garden. It didn't seem to mess with the plants at all. So as you can see here, just get the water off here. The roots literally just grow right on through the bottom or the sides, wherever the roots are coming out from. And as long as they have water, so like this one I'm not really worried about because water sits in this tray and there's like ridges, so it sits down in the ridge. As long as they're getting water, it's okay if the roots come out. Just make sure that they're having a way to get water. And then you'll want to get them in the ground. So this is basil. I can probably get it out in the next few days once it warms up just a little bit. It will probably be fine if it frosts, but it's raining today, and yesterday was kind of cold too. So I'm just gonna give it some time before I put those in the ground. The next thing I do is when I'm putting these in, so you just saw me pull this out and some of the soil came out. That's because when it was, sorry, I'm gonna squeeze some water out of here. When it was in there, it floated upside down, and so the soil just came out. It's fine. So this will be soily water. And then this one, so squeeze the water out just a little bit so it's not dripping everywhere. So it's just this little mesh bag, and it's just got soil in it. It's all ready to go. So I love that. So I'm gonna have these two here. I'm gonna put my little flag in. Okay, let's see here. And so these already had the holes in them. Sometimes this hole needs just ripped open just a little bit more. These ones seem to be doing okay. So I just like to flatten it out a little bit. And then I'm gonna pull these closer to me. And then I am going to open up my seed bag. So I got some cherry tomatoes. I don't know, I wanted to try something different. We grow a lot of bigger tomatoes. When I say a lot, I'm talking 6 plants. There are people out there doing hundreds. So this method of seed starting is probably not gonna work if you're doing hundreds of tomato plants. I probably would switch my method too if I were trying to do that quantity. If you're trying to do a backyard suburban garden with, you know, I don't know, 30 or less plants, this method works just fine. And it worked great for me last year, so I'm keeping it up this year. Okay, so what I do when I'm starting seeds is I just take about 3 of them and I just set them right on top here. So they'll look like this. And then I just push them in just a little bit, and I take some soil from the outside and I just kind of cover them up. And that's all I gotta do. And then all I need to do from here is, once I get these 2 done, all I have to do from there is water it when it needs watered. So the one thing I do love about these little mesh containers, these Jiffy recharges, is that when they need watered, the mesh kind of separates from the soil and it makes it have like a lighter color. And so it's pretty obvious when they need more water, which I love because it just makes it so simple. You don't have to worry about overwatering or underwatering because it has a quick visual inspection to know whether something is dry or wet. So I put 3 seeds in here like I just showed you. One thing that could happen is you could have multiple sprouts come up in the same container. The one thing I love about these, the soil mixture is very good. I rarely have seeds that don't germinate in this. And all I do is this, add water, and put them in the window. That's literally all I do. Last year we didn't have window space. I cleared off space this year. But last year what I did is I just pulled a table up to a window and I just set them in front of the window, and that seemed to do fine. But you might get multiple sprouts coming up through here. And if you're putting 3 in, you're probably gonna get 3. That's just my experience with these. So for instance, that happened with this green pepper plant, and 2 sprouts came up right side by side. And so I just had to decide which one am I gonna keep. So I just look at them and I try to decide which one looks stronger, which one looks bigger. That's really the only determining factors. If they look about the same, just pick one. These 2 were really close together. I don't know if you can see in the video the second stem right there, probably not. But all I did was I literally just like pinched it off so that it didn't pull the roots of the one I was trying to keep. Now on this outside over here, there was another sprout starting, and he was far enough away that I could pluck him without hurting the other plants. And so that's exactly what I did. I plucked him and I planted him in here. And so he will get a chance to go in the garden because there was the space. So that is what I do to start seeds. Now, you might be asking, why are these in these large containers over here? So these are just containers that I got when I bought some annual plants to go outside. So I just planted those and then I stole the containers. I filled them with my 50-50 mixture, which is what I use in my raised beds. It's 50% topsoil and 50% mushroom compost. And so I just mixed some of that up from some bags and I put that in there. I planted my jalapenos, my green peppers, and my tomatoes. That's because they were getting so big in here that the roots were coming out, and they were coming out more than this, and there was multiple of them all around. And these in particular were looking like that, and they still had over a month before they were going to be able to go outside. And so I decided, because we have to wait till mid-May to get things outside here, that it was probably better off to give them a chance to get bigger and not stunt their growth and have to restart them. I was a little scared that these weren't going to be big enough space for them to continue growing. So I moved them here, and that is literally the only reason. I think that, you know, if you were to start something now, this would be plenty of space before you get it outside, because we are now in April. So if you have any other questions about seed starting, I know a lot of you probably use containers maybe wider than this with multiple seeds in them. There's a bunch of different videos on different ways to do it. For me, this is just simple. I don't do a whole lot of gardening in terms of like large scale, huge operation with hundreds of plants. So for me, this is plenty. Usually I don't even use half of this tray. It only looks like so much because of these large containers in here, and that's plenty. And I'm doing a ton of herbs this year, and I wasn't sure how they would take, so I started all kinds of them in here, and I only needed like one of each. So I started multiple seeds in each one, and I started 3 of each. So I have 3 basil, 3 oregano, 3 rosemary, 3 thyme, and I accidentally started thyme twice, so I actually have 6 thyme. And so that's taking up a lot more space than it would normally. So for me, this is kind of an easy way to do small scale gardening. I don't have to go buy a topsoil and containers and just like multiple things to get started. I can really just get started in a small tray. They're already separated out. I don't have to worry about digging out roots or separating things. I don't have to pluck anything and transplant it. Literally, this thing just drops right into the ground, or if I want to, I can grab this mesh and start pulling, and that just rips right off and plop the whole soil in the ground. It'll stick together pretty good before you get it in the ground. I did test that with my broccoli and cauliflower this year, just so I could give you guys some tips on that. The only thing I would say is if you do have roots coming out from the bottom and you are going to rip it because you just think that that would be a better route, if you do that, just make sure if you have roots coming out the bottom that you're pulling straight down off of them and being very careful not to rip them. Especially if you had something like this basil plant. I don't think that these roots will survive me pulling this mesh off. This mesh is way too fine, I think, in order for that to be threaded back through the hole that it's come out of. So that one definitely will not get the mesh torn off in my garden. So I hope this helps. I hope seeing an example of it is helpful. If you do another method, that's great. Feel free to share below. If you decide to try this method, I'd love to hear about it. If you're doing, you know, 1 or 2 pieces, you can go to your local nursery and buy them for $1 a pop. I think it's great because you can pay less than $1 to get some of these together, and then, you know, seed packets are less than $2. So buy a couple dollars worth of seeds and you can really get started in your backyard for less than $5, which I think is just really cool. So happy gardening.